Hello everybody, welcome back to episode 16 of the Aviation Spotters podcast. I am your host, Colin. I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed last week's episode with Jeremy Dwyer Lindgren, or JDL as we all call him. I honestly think that I'm going to have him back just to tell some of his aviation stories because, my God, that guy has some absolutely astonishing stories. Don't you agree with me? And also, guys, please make sure to go check out the Facebook page, the Aviation Spotters Podcast, and start using the hashtag Aviation Spotters Podcast and hashtag AvSpottersPod. That helps me see everybody's photos. And now Instagram and Facebook and Twitter are now letting me see hashtags again. So please, guys, start tagging people with that. Start using them in your own photos, and that allows me to go see your photos and see who we can get next here on the show. Speaking of the show, my guest this week is halfway around the world. We have a 13-hour time difference right now, and it is currently 7:40 in the morning my time, but 8:40 p.m. his time. The sun has set on both places, and the sun's about to come up where I'm at. So my guest this week has been published in multiple aviation magazines, Aero International magazine, Aero International, in-flight magazines of multiple airlines, Vista Air, SpiceJet, Indigo, Pawan, Hans Helicopters, and more. We're going to find out in total what my guest has been published in here in a bit. So it is my pleasure to introduce, all the way from New Delhi, India, Mr. Sandeep Suresh. Sandeep, good morning or good afternoon or good evening. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on where you are, all of you. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you so much. I'm so excited too. I'm really looking forward to this.
Absolutely, man. You have some absolutely amazing work that I just could not pass you up, because you do take some of the photos that got me to get you on the show is a lot of some of the Indian military stuff, which I think the Indian military and the Air Force and the Navy has some this very unique aircraft that's a mix between the United States built and the English built, and then just the Russian built stuff too. And seeing a lot of that stuff is pretty cool. But no problem at all. Thanks for taking my invitation, and let's have some fun this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Oh yes, absolutely.
So let's get to know you a little bit, man. So where are you from, and how you got into photography, and how you got into aviation and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I'm in New Delhi, India, and I was born and brought up here. My dad works with Pawan Hans Helicopters. So Pawan Hans was formerly known as Helicopter Corporation of India. And my dad has been working in the company for more than 25 years. And that's how I got into aviation. Like, as a kid, I used to accompany him to his office, and, like kids of my age would want to go to an amusement park or, play with friends or whatever. I used to accompany my dad to his office on weekends, and that was my thing to do. And also, when I was a kid, that was a time when the company, was expanding rapidly. So almost every month, new helicopters were coming in from the US. Like, we were getting the Bell 206 and the Bell 407s coming in. So I that was my thing to do. I was really excited. I really wanted to be there while all of these helicopters were coming together. They were assembled. So that's how I got interested in aviation. And at least when it comes to photography, I did not start plane spotting as such till at least 2016. And before that, I used to read a lot about airplanes. I used to kind of write articles about airplanes, and Microsoft Flight Simulator has always been a part of my life, I don't know, since the beginning of time. And 2016 onwards, I started clicking airplanes, and that's how I started. And I think maybe 2 months after I started clicking is when I started my own page. Like, a very close friend, he actually pushed me into starting my page, and that's how I started my page called Delhi Spotter on Instagram.
Yeah, we'll get into your handles and stuff later on here in a bit when we start talking about finding work and all that. But so this helicopter company, what is your when your dad used to work for or still works for
Yeah,
this helicopter?
he's still with the company, and it's one of Asia's biggest helicopter corporations. They have a fleet of around I think 50 plus helicopters, and most of it consists of Dolphin helicopters. And Dolphins, so the fleet has Dolphins, Bell 407s, Bell 206, AS 350 B3, and a couple of MI 172s. So
Oh wow.
that's the fleet. Yeah, and they are the biggest helicopter corporation in I think all of Asia, and they're also the biggest. They're also one of the biggest operators of Dolphin helicopters in the world.
So what is the primary kind of duty of this company? Like, what do they primarily do?
They are, so as far as deployment is concerned, they are almost in every part of India, and mostly into remote locations and stuff like where, hilly regions and all of these places where people don't like they don't even have proper roads and stuff. So there we have there's like places like Arunachal Pradesh. These are very hilly areas. So a few of our helicopters, few of Pavan's helicopters are located there, and then they're also used for by ONGC for offshore flying, like oil rigs and stuff. And then the helicopters are also very actively used during election times in India because VIPs. So a lot of VIP flying is done by Pavans during election times and stuff. So pretty much everything. So they cover a lot of areas.
That's pretty cool. Is your dad a pilot?
No, he's not. He is in the managing side of it.
Okay. Well, still pretty cool to be around the whole aviation industry like that. And I think that's a great way to get started like that too. Is you're even though your dad isn't flying, you're still there, which I think is pretty cool.
True, that's true. I owe my love for aviation to him.
Yeah, no, I agree. Even though my dad wasn't a pilot or whatnot, but he still got me into aviation as a whole. Just so I am thankful for that. You started spotting in 2016, so
Yes.
man, I thought you've been doing it a lot longer. What other hobbies outside of plane spotting and aviation photography do you have?
I like gaming. I like I would not call myself a hardcore gamer though, but I like gaming. And then I like riding. Like I do a lot of bike riding. Although lately I've not been able to do it again because the world has come to a standstill, so I've not been able to do it properly. But yes, I like riding my bike a lot, and I used to go for long rides around in Delhi, and weekends. On weekends, I would just take my bike and just go anywhere with friends, and we used to have a riding club, so we used to just go for random rides on weekends, and we used to do a lot. But lately, I've not been able to do it again. All other hobbies are pretty much revolving around aviation only. Like say for Microsoft Flight Simulator, it just came out, so it does take a lot of time. I like swimming, and I've been swimming since maybe I don't know 2003. It has just always been there in my computer since then, and I've been using using all versions of the simulator since then. The Flight Simulator 2004, then the Flight Simulator X and X-Plane and all of those, and the new one just came out. Did you have the chance to try it out?
Yeah, I actually just finished my computer build specifically for Microsoft Flight Simulator because, like you said, I've been flight simming also since I think Flight Sim 2000.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like we used to have some also, but I've never had a very fast computer to run flight sim, and I've just been kind of using my old laptop, my old gaming laptop from my 2012, which. It got pretty old, and I knew it was not going to be able to run the new Microsoft Flight Sim, and so over the past year and a half, I've just kind of pieced together a computer build, and I built a monster, and I'm running Flight Sim at Ultra at 60 frames per second right now, so I can't complain. What is your gaming handle if anybody wants to... Are you on Twitch or anything like that?
No, I'm not. As I said, I am not like a hardcore gamer, so I don't play a lot of multiplayer games. So I don't really have a handle for gaming as such.
All right. Well, we can go maybe later, and then later in the show we can kind of plug if anyone wants to come fly with you on Flight Sim. We can kind of plug you and all that. And
Yeah.
definitely that. So real quick, I just have a kind of a question because are New Delhi and Delhi are there just two cities that are pretty much just side by side?
Technically they're just the same place. Yeah.
Okay, so when you said riding your bike, I'm assuming that you always had some new places to go to just because Delhi is just a gargantuan city, right?
Yeah. So when it comes to going rides, we hardly have time to always go out of Delhi, and because of the geographical location of Delhi, we don't have a lot of say forests or say beaches or anything like that. So we are stuck with kind of whatever already is there in Delhi, and so we just go to like India Gate. You must have heard of India Gate. So it's like a 30-minute ride from my house. So what we do is we wake up at around 5 in the morning, and we just go to India Gate, chill for a bit there, and have breakfast, and just come back. And so small rides, and sometimes we go to Rajasthan, like place like Jaipur. That's like the last time I went for such a ride was when I rode for around 177 kilometers one side to this palace called Patan Mahal. So it was a palace, and it still is actually, but it kind of has been converted into a heritage hotel. So we go for those rides too, but again, you don't always get time to do that.
I did a lot of road biking up here growing up and still here and there. So, I mean, we're not in a big city like Delhi, but we have people, run us off the road and stuff like that. And it just sucks, but one last question before we start moving it on. What would you consider your home airport?
That would be Delhi International, Indira Gandhi International Airport, and the airport is like 20 minutes away from my house, and that's where I do all my spotting.
Awesome, and we're going to be definitely talking about that here in a second. So let's move it on, man. Let's start talking about camera gear. What type of cameras do you currently use, and what kind of equipment have you used in the past?
So I've been using a Nikon D5200 for almost 3 years now, with a 7300 lens and a 50mm prime and the kit 1855 lens. The thing is, I have not really invested much when it comes to gear because spotting is not really legal in India. You really have to you go out spotting. The security personnel don't really want to see you with big cameras and lenses. So a lot of spotters don't invest in very expensive gear here. And what I do is when I go for air shows and stuff, so I just rent a gear for say a week or something. And my go-to camera would be like a Nikon D810 or an 850 or something like that. So that's something I love to rent when I go for air shows and stuff.
Well, I did not realize that spotting was pretty frowned upon in India.
Oh, it
I
is.
did not know that.
Oh, it is. It's definitely very very difficult to spot in India. It's not all that difficult. So we have one eye on the aircraft and the other eye is literally scanning the premises for people looking at us. You always have people looking at you, and they are always like, okay, what are you up to? It's just really difficult in India. It's not all that easy to spot in India, and for that reason, you will not find a lot of spotters in India. Like there still are many, but you'll not not as many as you would find in any other part of the world.
Are you able to obtain permission from the airport authority to say, hey, we're going to be out here today, or how's that stuff kind of work?
Not for anything outside the airport. Again, because even if we write to the authority, they don't really respond. They just don't. We can try and get airside permission, but again, that's not all that easy, especially in a place like Delhi, because Delhi also has a lot of military traffic going on, and a part of the airport is run by the Indian Air Force. So we don't really. It's not all that easy to get permission to go airside in Delhi. I just went airside yesterday. United had just started their Chicago, Delhi service yesterday, and we went through this through ground handling company called Bird Group, like it's BWFS. They invited us over for an airside shoot, but that it just happens like once in a year or something. Otherwise, it's super difficult to spot in Delhi. We don't have a lot of spots, and even if there are, they're all there's too much security for some reason. It's people are just too paranoid when it comes to spotting. The authorities are just very paranoid when it comes to spotting. Like, what can you possibly do with a camera? It's beyond me. But again, people are too paranoid.
I honestly did not know that. I am about to learn so much stuff, excuse me, from this episode. And I mean, then you managed then to swing some absolutely amazing photos then in this under your circumstances. That is absolutely incredible. So hats off to all you Indian spotters there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely incredible then what you guys are doing. I honestly did not know that.
Oh yes, it is. It's like it's actually very difficult to to spot in India, and for that very reason, anyone, literally not even good content, literally anyone who manages to get a good picture of an aircraft in India deserves some credit, because it's genuinely very difficult.
Is there any legal implications? Like, can they arrest you and take you to prison if they catch you?
Honestly, yes. And one of my friends, I won't be able to name him, but again, there have been instances where people have been arrested and taken in for questioning by the police, just because they were caught spotting. And they what they do is they just take your camera, they go through what you've clicked. So the thing is, people don't know something like plane spotting exists in India. They are still unaware of it. They don't know. They it's beyond their understanding to they don't know why would you do that. Like, why would you click pictures of planes? Then you have to kind of explain it to them that just like people click pictures of cars or animals or trees or whatever. Similarly, we click pictures of planes. How's that a problem? But they don't understand. It's, again, for them it's a matter of national security, and they just go through your entire thing. They do a background check, and if they're convinced, well and good, they'll let you off. They'll give you a warning and they'll just let you go. But if they're not, they'll just take you in for questioning, and all of that happens. So you can't really be sure of what of the consequences, because I've had multiple instances where I've been asked by security personnel or the Delhi police as to what I was doing, and I just simply tell them and try to explain. I prove my identity. I try to be sweet to them, and I just tell them that this is what I'm doing, and you can go through my pictures, and you won't really find anything sensitive in it, like something of very sensitive nature. And Delhi, when we spot in Delhi, unless we are attending some military event or something, we try to not click any military traffic that comes into any airport, and that's sort of like an unsaid rule in India. So say I'm out spotting, and I see like a Indian Air Force IL-76 coming, I will probably not click it, because it's like that's just something we don't do. So for that, yeah. So I've had multiple instances where I've been asked by police personnel as to what I was doing. Then I just show them the pictures. They go through it. I try to show them my page, or the pictures I've clicked. So this is what it is, and they let me off. And there have been multiple instances where I've been asked questions. I've had to show my ID cards. I had to tell them where I work, what. Multiple things. So you can't really be sure of the consequences. Anything can happen. So spotting is not really like we can't be 100% sure when we are spotting. Like, half of our brain is basically thinking about, okay, what if someone sees, what if a police car passes by, which is unnecessary if you think about it. Like, I mean, we're not doing anything wrong. That's just part of spotting, and then just start living with it.
Whoever manages to do it, I mean, you guys get some amazing photos, but this kind of makes me feel very privileged just to be able to go to my airport at my own leisure and be able to take military photos and stuff like that. And I mean, That makes me feel really, really privileged right there, and it should make a lot of other people listening privileged also to, let is go to the airport at their own leisure. But you do have some interesting military photos, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. So Nikon D5200, just kind of basic stuff, and I completely understand that if it's like a bigger air show, then you're going to invest and rent the bigger equipments and whatnot. Yeah. But I honestly think that's perfect. Do you do any other photography outside of plane spotting?
I like doing portraits again, just as a I do it with friends. I'm out with friends. I just do it for the sake of it because I like doing portraits. Yeah. I like clicking birds again. I don't know much about birds again, but I like clicking birds and just street life in general.
So let's start talking about the aviation specific questions, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
All right, man. So what is your favorite airplane of all time, and then kind of like your favorite aircraft to take photos of?
Damn, that is a difficult question. See, when it comes to commercial aviation, there's literally just one queen, like the Boeing 747. There are only two categories of aircraft: Boeing 747 and non-Boeing 747. I absolutely love the 747s. I'm pretty sure a lot of Ave geeks agree with me that it's just too beautiful. But again, other than that, I'm allowed to I really like military aircraft. So I would say I absolutely love the MiG-21. I absolutely love that aircraft. Also because the Indian Air Force still kind of flies them. We have a little over 100 aircraft still, and they've been flying for more than 60 years with almost 60 years with India. And we've actually had multiple versions of the aircraft. We had the FL, then the PF, M, and Bison. The current version is called the Bison. So we've had multiple versions of the MiG-21 fly for the Air Force, and it's just there is something about the aircraft that I can just stare at it for hours. Although that said, I've never had the chance to really click that aircraft as much as I would have wanted to, but I still would like to do it. Although the MiG-21s will be phased out very soon from the Air Force. Because the Tejas fighters are slowly coming in, joining the Air Force and replacing the MiGs. But again, that's one aircraft I really, really love, and I would really like to click more of them before they're gone for good.
I have never seen a flying MiG-21 in person, so if there is ever an Indian air show that hopefully might happen soon, and they're featuring the MiG-21, you might expect me over there.
Oh, that's amazing because we are there's an air show coming in February. Aero India. You must have heard of Aero India. It's happening in February, and there's a good chance, at least I hope so, that the MiG-21s start flying, because this is most likely the last time we get to see the MiG-21 and the Mi-35 helicopters. So I am really looking forward to the show, and it's happening in February, like next month.
Mark your calendars for that. I am going to be looking into that potentially.
Also, MiG-21 is obviously my favorite, but there are two other aircraft that have just been they've just been very close to me. I absolutely love them. One is the F-86 Sabre and the F-4 Phantom. Both of them are absolutely gorgeous. For some reason, I really like, and it's just weird how I like the way the Phantom's wings are tilted upwards towards the edges. I really like those two aircraft.
Yeah, did the Indian Air Force ever fly the Phantom?
No, not neither of the two. So the F-86 was flown by Pakistan. So our Air Force has kind of gotten used to going against them, but still, a beautiful aircraft is a beautiful aircraft, irrespective of the side.
I agree. The military museum outside Gowan Field, which is the local the air guard side of the Boise Airport, they have a RF-4. They literally pulled it off the line. The Idaho has a love affair with the Phantom because we used to be Phantom country. We the Guardian here flew the last active Phantom flights for the whole United States Air Force, obviously excluding the QF-4 program, which is the drone program. So the final Phantom flight for the U.S. Air Force occurred from Boise to Tucson to the Boneyard. But it's really cool. In 2017, my listeners have heard this story many, many times. Back in the air show in 2017, there are two other Phantoms that are in the base that are on the Heritage Park, and they repainted the RF4 and the F4G Wild Weasel, and they towed the RF4 back from the Heritage Park, and they took her back to the flight line.
Wow.
So you saw A10 tail, an A10 tail, and then you saw a Phantom tail.
Damn.
Which was absolutely incredible to see for this couple days, putting her back on the flight line.
Wow.
But that's kind of going back to the 747. I always thought the Air India scheme on the 747 was absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah. I really like their old livery, the one with the chrome belly. It was absolutely gorgeous. I wish before the 747s are gone, at least they paint at least one aircraft in the heritage livery. I mean, I would absolutely kill to see that livery again on a 747. It's very gracious. Although the current livery is just as beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful livery, but nothing really comes close to the old chrome bellies. We don't see the chrome bellies anymore. That's kind of sad. I think the last time I saw a full bare metal aircraft was the Cathay Pacific Silver Bullet. Absolutely gorgeous aircraft. I really like those bare metal aircraft.
I do also. If any, also kind of a plug out there. If anybody guys listens to the Fighter Pilot podcast, they have an episode specifically on the MiG-21, and their guest is a former Indian air marshal, I believe. So if you guys want to go learn about the MiG-21 and specifically some of the Indian MiG-21s, go check out the Fighter Pilot podcast and look at that episode. Great episode that Jella did over there. Definitely, I'm going to be marking Aero India down. Likewise, we're kind of talking in the pre-discussion. I've always wanted to go visit India, and go seeing. I mean, that's what I love about the Indian Air Force is just a mix of NATO-built aircraft and then Russian-built aircraft and the Soviet-built aircraft. I just think that's a great mix. And also with the MiG-21, are they the Chinese?
No. These are actually built by HAL. These are licensed built by HAL. In all, the Indian Air Force has introduced more than 1,200 MiG-21s in the Air Force, and a good number of those were built by HAL in Bangalore. In India itself. So most of our aircraft, the ones that are serving, are all were manufactured in HAL.
I'm assuming kind of like ones that are kind of delivered from the Soviet Union or whatever were kind of already phased out by now for being too old.
Yeah. They've got done with they don't even have blueprints apparently of the aircraft, so they've just completely gotten done with everything that relates to the MiG-21. We had a good lineup of MiGs. Like the Air Force had a good lineup of MiG aircraft in the early 90s. Like we had the MiG-21, we had the MiG-23, MiG-25, MiG-27, MiG-29. You name it, and we had that MiG. And then slowly they started to go away, and currently the only MiG, I think we just have the MiG-21 and the MiG-29. The MiG-27s got retired in December last year, and now the MiG-21, the 29s are going to go off for quite a while. But the 21s will go away soon.
And then you also have the Sukhoi, the Su-35s, right?
Yeah, we have the Su-30s.
Su-30s, yes, my bad. Yes, you're really interesting. In 2008, as a red flag workup, the Indian Air Force brought over one of their Il-76 tankers and the Su-30s over to Mountain Home Air Force Base here in Idaho.
If that was a tanker, it must have been the Il-78.
Oh, the 78, yes. But that, I've seen photos from 2008, and it was just to see. I think it was the first that Indian Sukhois have ever landed on American soil.
I guess it is. Because the Sukhois joined in the Sukhois were introduced in 97, and then like a small batch of Sukhois came in 97. I'm not completely sure of this. They came in 97, but they joined the Indian Air Force in big numbers 2002 onwards. So, and I'm not sure if between 2002 and the red flag, I don't think they ever came to the US. So that's probably the first time they ever came into the US.
look at back at those photos, I just started spotting a mountain home last year, but man, I really, really, really wish I was able to see that, because just to see Russian-built aircraft in the U.S. is extremely rare, but to seeing Russian aircraft operated by another country is even better. And
I agree. I was asking, do you have a favorite Soviet aircraft?
oh, my favorite Soviet aircraft, yeah, it's the Il-62M.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the big Vickers VC-10
Damn,
copy.
I was just about to say that. Oh yes, absolutely. It's a beautiful aircraft. I think about two of them are still flying. I'm not sure of that.
Yes, Rada, the cargo Rada one, the one that operates out of Belarus. They just got a second one potentially.
Oh, okay.
So there's two of them. Yeah, that is my, I believe on my spotting list, that is aircraft number 2.
Oh wow.
On the spotting list.
And now I'm just curious, what's on number one?
Number 1, I believe, is the you know what, this might actually be number 1. I believe this is
Okay.
number 1. I was about to say no. Number two is catching the Cubana AL-96, doing a run up to Toronto, because they still sometimes will run the old. They still in the Aeroflot scheme. They run it to Toronto every once in a while. That is also up there on the list, but yeah, definitely the Il-76. Unfortunately, it probably will never come here. Actually, the Open Skies, the Russian Air Force Open Skies Tupolev 154 has flown over Boise a handful of times during the Open Skies flyover. So I've actually heard a Tupolev 154 from Boise and actually seen one. Granted, that's 16,000 feet, but still, like
Still there.
it's a Russian Air Force Tupolev.
I agree.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, do you have a least favorite aircraft to spot at all?
Least favorite again. Okay, this is one question. The answer for this question is going to be the same if you ask anyone in India. I would not really call it my least favorite aircraft to spot, but the most common aircraft that you'll find in India is an Indigo A320, and people don't want to spot it anymore. Now, right after this, my friends are going to kill me because most of my pilot friends are all flying for Indigo, and they're not going to be very happy about this. But again, every time you see Indigo, like it's like 10 Indigo 320s land, and then there are like 2 Air Indias, and there's like 1 Vistara, then another 10 Indigos come. So that's the kind of frequency. They have a huge fleet, and they are a huge airline now. They're doing really well, but again, kind of don't want to spot them anymore because it's the same thing, the same aircraft.
You also have been published by Indigo too, so...
Yeah, well, yes. But again, that said, we used to, it's quite sad how Jet Airways went down, because this is what we used to do with Jet Airways as well. The 737, there were too many 737s coming in, unless one day they just stopped, until one day they just stopped. So it's also kind of sad how now we don't get any of those. So we kind of think when they were coming in, we should have just gotten all of them.
With our discussion a few minutes ago about how plane spotting is kind of frowned upon in India, I think then that sort of situation, you guys wouldn't have a least favorite. I mean, it's kind of like every shot counts.
True, that's true. That's very, very true.
So what is the rarest aircraft you've ever taken a photo of? And I'm pretty sure you guys have some pretty rare aircraft that fly in that part of the world.
We do get a lot of rare traffic. Like we do get a lot of AN12s coming in. A lot of AN12s for that matter. We Motor Siege and all these airlines. Like we get AN12s. We still get a lot of IL-76 aircraft coming in. But I guess if you ask me, my rarest air catch would be, I think I think it would be like the Tiger Moth, simply because it's like the oldest aircraft in my collection. The Indian Air Force has a completely restored Tiger Moth in its vintage flight, so I think that has to be my rarest aircraft ever.
That's pretty cool. That is super cool. For people that don't know what the Tiger Moth is like a dual engine biplane in a way, built by de Havilland in the 1920s and the 1930s, I believe. Really, really cool aircraft. There are some that are still flying in the U.S., but having an Indian Air Force restored one, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we even have a Howard flying. Again, both of them were restored to flying condition, and there are three aircraft which are part of the Indian Air Force vintage flight. There's a C-47, there's a Tiger Moth, and there's a Howard.
The Howard, that's cool. That is
It's
really
beautiful.
cool. My mistake, by the way, the Tiger Moth is a single engine biplane. I'm thinking of the Dragon Rapide.
Again, very beautiful.
I'm assuming they kind of bring those to air shows
They
and
do,
stuff
they do.
like that to show it off.
They are at all air shows. I recently saw them at the Air Force Day celebrations on the October 8th. So both the Howard and the Tiger Moth were there. Although the Howard didn't really fly for some reason, but I saw the Tiger Moth fly. It's still a very beautiful sight.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm assuming air shows in India then are a very big deal because that's kind of the one day you're able to go take aviation
Oh,
flights.
absolutely. Yeah, that's why I'm looking forward to Aero India so much, because it happens once in 2 years. So there are two air shows. Aero India is like a proper air show. Again, we have something called Wings India as well. It's not really an air show. It's more like a snooze fest with planes parked on the apron. You can just go see, and nothing really happens there. So I would not really call it an air show. It's more like a show where you can also see planes. But Aero India is like a proper air show. It's like a proper fest. We wait for it for 2 years, and the entire aviation community of India is there. Because it's so difficult to sort of spot in India, the aviation community, the aviation photographer community is also not very big. We have a small community, so the entire community is there in Bangalore at that time. So we are there for like 4 or 5 days. All of us meet. There are so many people that we probably would have known for years, and we would meet them for the first time ever. So it's like a good kind of a meet and greet thing. Also keeps happening in the background. It's like a good vibe during that 1 week of Aero India. Really looking forward. It's starting on the 3rd of February.
Awesome. Like I said, I'm going to see if I can mark the calendars for that. It's kind of leading off of that discussion then. So what is your favorite kind of event, like off airport location per se?
I would have to say it's Aero India, because again we don't have a lot of air shows in India. Again, there are small events. There are multiple small events, like we go airside, but then that's again not like a proper event. We just go airside, we click a few pictures, and we just come back. But like a proper air show sort of a thing is only Aero India. So I would say Aero India.
Awesome. Yeah, I was kind of assuming that. But hey, man, that's freaking awesome. You guys are able to that is such a nice small tight knit community and stuff, and you guys just are able to do all this stuff together and dodge police together too. Got any spotting stories, anything like that for the listener out there? To something interesting happened to you guys at all, or anything funny, scary?
Yes, I mean, okay, so this again. So all if you ask any spotter in India about their spotting stories, at least 90% of them will involve the police for some reason, because they pretty much revolve around the police as well. So this was, I think, 2016 when I had just started spotting. So I was not aware of all the legal problems, and I did not know that it's not really allowed. So this was I think the 6th or the 7th of October in 2016. So that was just wrong on multiple levels, because during that time, in 2016, there were some problems. There was a lot of tension between India and Pakistan at that time, like so much that people were anticipating a full-blown war to happen. And also because it was the 6th or 7th of October, there was a lot of tightened security because 8th of October is Air Force Day. So a lot of military traffic also sometimes comes into Delhi, and I did not think about either of these, and I just went ahead and started spotting. It was a very foggy day, and I just started spotting there, and I saw a few locals staring at me. I did not really bother because I was kind of expecting it. I was like, okay, and I just went ahead and I started clicking. A few, maybe like 10-15 minutes later, I see about 4 or 5 military officers, oh, actually not officers, military personnel walking towards me with their guns and all of those things. I kind of figured that they're walking towards me, so just so that they don't think I am up to something mischievous, I just kept on clicking. I did not really look back at them. I just continued clicking. So they came, they stood behind me and they just called me, ki, "Sir, come here." And I'm like, "Yes." And they were like, the first question they asked me was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just clicking pictures." I'm clicking pictures. They were like, of what? Like, airplanes? It's like, "But why?" Like, because it's a hobby. I like to click pictures of airplanes. The question, so these guys, so that's why that's exactly what I was telling you. People don't know that such a hobby exists. So he goes like, "But why would you click pictures of airplanes?" So I had to explain it to him. I was like, "So just how you would click pictures of cars or anything for that matter. I am interested in aviation. I like clicking pictures of planes, so that's what I'm doing." So he's like, "No, this is not allowed. It's about national security. You're not supposed to be doing this. You're not supposed to be here. Be here. You can't do this." He just took my camera from me, started going through all of the pictures. He didn't really find anything suspicious, so that was fine. But again, because of all the tensions between India and Pakistan at that time, they were not completely sure if this is what I was actually doing. So they took my parents' number, and they wanted to speak to my mom, my dad. They kind of wanted to check my entire background, my dad's background, my mom's background. So they went to that extent. They actually were about to call my mother and check if I am actually their son. They took my IDs. They clicked pictures of me with the equipment and of my ID and all of those things. And then they were kind of convinced, and thankfully they were all young officers. Some of them were young, so they kind of got what I was doing. They were like, don't worry, but you know how things are right now, and you should not have been here." Kind of understood. I apologized, but they had to do their duty. And then after that, a police car also came in. So at that point, I pretty much lost it. I was like, "I'm done. I'm going to jail for sure." But then they they were having some sort of a discussion among themselves, and I'm guessing they called their seniors, and they're like, "No, we checked the background. He's fine. He was just clicking pictures." And they returned my camera, and they told me not to spot from here, from anywhere for that matter. They're like, "Now you can go, but if you if we have any doubts or anything, we can call you, and you will have to come." So that was my first proper sort of encounter with the police relating to spotting. And I did not go spotting. Needless to say, wow. I did not spot for at least 3-4 months after that. And that's when I was like, "Yeah, I can't really sit here and not do it." When I started taking my own precautions, I stopped, staying at one spot for more than an hour or so. I would just go, click, and come back. If something special is coming in, we just go, we click, and we just come back. That's pretty much what everyone in India does.
That is so interesting, man. And like I said earlier, it just kind of makes you feel really privileged to be able to go out there and take, a lot of people just go be able to take photos at an airport and stuff like that. And, hopefully one day that people in India will realize how big of a hobby it is, not just in India, but globally as well.
But that said, the weird part is, only the security agencies are, very paranoid when it comes to these. The airlines and say the social media handle of say Delhi airport, they're very supportive of spotters. Like, they want us to go out there and spot. They even keep sending you messages that do you have any good pictures that you would like to get reposted. The airlines in India are super supportive, and so it's basically just the security agencies that are that are they still need to open up to the fact that something like plane spotting exists, or maybe they know, they just don't want to accept it. I think that's just how it is.
Yeah, the other thing too is as a spotter, you guys are able to keep an eye on the airport too. Like, you guys are like kind of watching the airport and stuff, and if you have support from the airport itself, all the airlines and such. That does really suck that you guys have to dodge all these hurdles and all that. But at the end of the day, maybe one day people will realize that spotters aren't like nerdy people going out to the airport. Okay, well, we kind of are nerdy and going out to the airport, but at the end of the day, it's like we're also there to watch, And if you guys are not taking photos of the military aircraft, which that's kind of the unspoken rule, and you guys are playing by that, like, okay, for national defense, we won't take this photo of this military plane coming in, but at the same time, like commercial aircraft, it's. And if you have support from the airlines and the airport authorities all around India, I don't see why it would be a big deal. And you guys are obviously doing the right thing by not taking the photos of those military aircraft if it is a national security thing. Hopefully one day that will change, and that would usher in a new wave of Indian aviation enthusiasts, because you guys have a lot of amazing stuff over there, and I really hope that someday it'll be able to go out to the world. I really do.
Thank you so much.
Before we start wrapping up, man, I have another question for you. What is your favorite Indian-built aircraft?
Like a commercial aircraft?
No, just any Indian-built aircraft in general. Which one is your favorite?
Oh, Indian-built aircraft. Okay. We don't have a lot of Indian-built aircraft, so I will have to say the Tejas. Have you heard of the Tejas? The HAL Tejas.
I don't believe I have.
Again, I have had the opportunity to see that aircraft fly, and also go and see the aircraft in person. First of all, it's an absolutely beautiful aircraft, and I really hope it's going to push. It's going to add a lot of value to the Indian Air Force. So I would say I think my favorite Indian-built aircraft has to be the Tejas.
Awesome. I just had to ask because I know you still have some aircraft in a domestic Indian-built aircraft company, so I just thought I'd have to ask that question. All right, man. Well, let's start wrapping her up here. Do you have any tips, words of encouragement, or anything else you want to add for the listener out there?
I would. I mean, while there are many, all of these problems do exist in India, I don't think they should really keep people who want to spot away from the hobby, because it's a really beautiful hobby. You should really just get out there and start clicking. Obviously be careful, know what the risks are. You should, and already also you don't really need a very expensive gear for spotting, especially here in India or anywhere for that matter. As long as you know what you're doing, you love planes, just get into the hobby, start doing it. Take your precautions, know your surrounding, and I think that's it. You can just you're good to go.
I so much agree with you. With your saying you do not need expensive camera gear. I preach that to young spotters every single day, that you do not need a $5,000 camera setup. Anything would work, and you prove it too. It's I have my setup, my 5D Mark IV, because I do a lot of stuff that also requires a full frame setup.
Absolutely, I've seen your pictures. I agree.
Like I just don't do aviation stuff. I do a lot of other stuff outside of aviation that really does require me to use a camera like that. But for spotting, like some of my, for those who follow me on Instagram, you guys saw I just flew in a Denver Air Connection Metroliner. All of my photos I took from that were either A, on my phone, or B, from my old Pentax K30, which I've had now for almost 10 years. So it doesn't really matter what camera you have. And if you love aviation, you'll find a way to make everything work. But that's absolutely great words of encouragement, man, and just tips in general. I cannot agree with you more. So as we said at the beginning of the show, where can we find your work, man? I know your Instagram handle, but is there anywhere else that people can go find your amazing work at?
Most of my work is on Instagram itself. The handle is called Delhi_spotter, and I don't put a lot of pictures on jet photos, but I am slowly starting to change that. But most of my work, if people are interested to see my work, it's all on Instagram.
Guys, go give them a follow. And Sandeep, this has been an absolutely phenomenal discussion. I have learned so much in this hour, and I really hope the listener out there has as well. So thank you so much for coming on and making this whole time zone stuff work out.
Actually, thank you so much for inviting me for this, and thank you so much for waking up so early, specifically for this on the weekend. But I had so much fun. I really had a lot of fun in this conversation. I'm really looking forward to meet you probably if you're in India, in Feb or anytime.
Hopefully, man. Yeah, that's always been a place I've always wanted to go. As we kind of talked in the pre-show, I've always loved the Indian culture and Indian food and just the whole and all that stuff. And we might make it happen one day. We'll let you know. I'll definitely let you know when I'm in the area, and vice versa.
Absolutely,
I know
buddy.
you said that the A-10 is one of your all-time favorite aircraft. So if you ever make it up here, man, we are definitely going to do a hog spot.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to that then.
Definitely make that happen. But until then, guys, I got to say my normal stuff, as we always do, right? End of the show. If you guys know anybody who they should come on and talk aviation with me here on the Aviation Spotters podcast, you know what to do. Drop me a DM at BOY Spotter, Instagram and Twitter. Send me a Facebook message, and make sure to like our Facebook page of the Aviation Spotters podcast. And guys, please start using the hashtags. Hashtag Aviation Spotters podcast. Hashtag AvSpottersPod. Start tagging that, everything from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter. Start using those hashtags. I am following those hashtags. You guys use that, I will see your photos. You guys don't believe that? Well, you guys start doing that, I'll start liking those photos. Bet. And as always, if you guys have any questions for the show with me, or actually, in this case, for Sandeep in India about Indian spotting, send me an email, askspotterspodcast@gmail.com, and I will send that question to him as well, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions out there about spotting in India. I will definitely shoot those over to him, or go give him a follow too and ask him yourself. So anyway, guys, Sandeep, anything else to add before we close it off here?
I think yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions that you would like to ask me, you can ask me through him, or you can just send me a message. I would love to help you out, because the more spotters here in India, the easier it will be for us. So yep.
Awesome, man. All right, guys. That's going to do it from here on episode 16 of the Aviation Spotters podcast. We'll catch you next time here. And as always, keep those batteries charged and those cameras ready. And we'll catch you next time here on another episode of the Aviation Spotters podcast.